What up? We're live. It's happening.
The afternoon this time.
Yeah. Morning meeting, but postponed to just before noon.
Just before.
Big meetings this morning. So the world is back. I feel like we're having so many meetings all of a sudden because everybody's woken up from whatever they were suffering from for the entire last year.
Yeah, the slump is over. People are ready to get back, ready to spend money again.
At least, at least over for now. At
Yeah.
least for the time being. Um, So what's going on in the world for you? Do you got anything fun happening in the news, social media, or anything?
Um, Not really much for me. Nothing that jumps to mind for me. I don't know if you've heard anything.
Fair enough. I did have something I wanted to ask you about though,
Okay, good.
because I think my perspective is that what might be interesting here is to take your uh, young mind and try to dissect the differences between me and you and
Okay.
our two differences. So what I wanted to ask you about was how do you get your news? And the reason I'm asking is I'm curious where you get your news from. I imagine it's social media and or TikTok or whatever. But I'm curious which accounts and what sort of news, if any, do you consume? Please go.
That's a, I don't know, crazy. I don't know the analogy to use of what kind of question. That's a loaded question, I guess, for me in particular. Um, I do use social media to consume a lot of news, if that's what you want to call it. TikTok, I like TikTok in terms of that's where I usually hear like the story breaking. Like that's where I usually hear about stuff before like the news is actually reporting it. And then I'm part of a Facebook group that is pretty aligned with my beliefs, my values. So a lot of like mainstream news articles will get shared in there, and then it'll be a lot of like, what are your thoughts on this? And then I divulge in the comments. I'm not a commenter. I just consume the comments, and then I either form my own opinion or I go and look up other things from there. But also like Instagram, um, again, just like specific accounts that I follow. I but I do try, like sometimes I try not to consume social media news because it is always filled with a bias, so it's kind of sometimes annoying to try to find like the right people that you want to watch explain it to you, because you can tell the kind of perspective that they have on it the minute they start talking about the topic. So mainly social media.
I think that I agree with you, and I think the reason that I'm asking or I'm curious about the question is because I found that even though uh, I consider myself sort of in touch with the news. I consume political news or U.S. politics news and stuff like that. And in general, I try to like pay attention to what's going on. I guess as a hobby, and I find myself still, even though I am, sort of into it, still getting my news and my information from from headlines or headline reading myself. And yeah, I was just curious. I mean, I have this account that I follow that's called Ground News. I'm not sure if you're familiar with that. I think it's
Mm-hmm.
Canadian based. I really like that one because they show multiple headlines on the same topic, and they you can kind of juxtapose those all together and come up with your own indicators of where there's bias and where there isn't. And I really like that. And then I just shared with you a second ago. I like these guys breaking points. I like to right now, especially if there's a controversial issue. I guess should there be someone listening? Sorry about the dog in the background. Um, he has been taken out for what it's worth. not
Just
abusing.
puppy training.
Yeah,
Anyone
exactly,
who's been through it knows.
exactly. So anyways, I was saying it's a little bit distracting, but try to bear with me. What I was going to say was, um, I try to, if there's a controversial topic, what I try to do is I try to consume like both sides and then something in the middle. And then I try to like form an opinion at that point, because I think that everything is everything comes at you with some kind of bias in these news days.
Mm-hmm.
At least that's my perspective. And I've too many times I've gone out on a limb on an opinion and found out that I was, totally wrong about what I was talking about. So
I think that's what's kind of hard about like a lot of news stories. Like when you hear like a breaking story, like the way that news is broken to us, like as fast as it is, it's like it's never been this fast, because people who are literally like my first instance of finding out about that plane that flipped over on the runway in Canada was from a first person point of view, someone running off the plane. Like that was the first instance I saw of it. I didn't see plane crashes in Toronto and then like a couple hours later see the video. I saw the video first and then I saw the headline. So it's like you see stuff breaking and it's, these news sources are doing their due diligence enough to wait for fact before, or you want to believe, right? Like that's why you see more news coming from TikTok, because it's the first person point of view, or the bystanders or the people who witnessed these things happening are posting it before they have all the facts of this, that, the other happened. But news sources, I would assume or know, are held to a higher standard of journalism, and they can't write false information, or some people don't really care about that anymore, so they do, but so they have to like wait until that's confirmed by the police, or how many are injured, how many died. Meanwhile, people online are like, 2 people were dead next to me, and so you have all of that coming out, but then you have the news sources. So I think that's why no one really other reasons too, but no one really waits for the news sources. They start talking about it the minute they see anything pop up about it.
Yeah, and it's really tough when because there's also a certain amount of people. I don't know if you've ever seen this happen, but I've seen it where they're doing it as like a troll, and they'll just come on and they'll say and then at the very end, if you watch the whole thing, you see at the end that it was just a troll, usually, or something like that. It's like a joke, but they'll come on and they'll be like, I was just in the plane crash and I had this and this happen, and then at the end it's like a kind of a reveal that it's a joke, but a lot of people don't even make it to the end, and you can see in the comments, and they're saying oh my God, there was 48 people that because this guy's,
because they know that's what people are searching, so they know
exactly.
People are looking for more information about it, and they won't look to see if that's actually true or not. They'll just consume it and move on.
Exactly. And again, I'm so guilty of it, because a lot of times I'll just read a headline and I didn't, I don't make, and I'll form a judgment often after just swiping by, seeing something in a peripheral. Oh, that, and it's actually, again, there's this shout out Ground News. That's why I really like how they compare them, because you can see the ways in which just the way they phrase it, you don't even realize a bias when they're phrasing things sometimes, it'll say something that's I don't know. I hate to even use a regular political figure, because I don't mean to make this polarizing, but say it'll say if it's Joe Biden made a gaffe, and then it'll say on one, and then it'll say the other one will be Joe Biden embarrasses the United States or something like that. And so just the way you read it, as you're reading it through, is oh, it's a silly little gaffe, or if you did it the other way, you're oh, this was a huge embarrassing failure. And really they're both talking about the same thing. And either one, am I going to click the link and actually read what the gaffe was? And so in depending on which headline I read and which where my bias lies, I'm going to be oh, he really messed that up again. And again, I hate to use even one example, because I think it happens with everything. It happens with even stuff that's it happened locally. It happened on a lot of local stuff in local Brevard County politics, where things were getting shared. I've seen that happen a number of times, where things get shared ahead of time. People are sharing and adding things that they're just wrong on, or they just don't know. They're my cousin's brother was the former city planner or something like that. And so, oh, I know this. And then, everybody just kind of runs with it. My favorite example of that is, were you around for Trader Joe's? This is
when it was supposed to be here in O'Galley.
Yeah, maybe worth clipping, because I was here for the whole thing, and I watched.
I heard about it.
And
supposedly being there.
Oh
or
my gosh.
supposedly moving in. I saw all the signs.
So here's what happened, and I won't name any names because I don't want to embarrass anyone. But the truth is, what happened was is a bunch of people that were local, um, local, I don't know, local celebrities is maybe a weird kind of yucky word for it, but the local people who kind of local big shots or whatever in our little town, they're a big deal. And they all kind of got together and decided like there was this lot that would be cool if it was a Trader Joe's. And everybody really wanted a Trader Joe's.
Yeah,
So
they did. They sure did.
yeah, their plan was to like put together a big promotion and like basically like they just like move forward like we're gonna get a Trader Joe's because they had like read in a headline that they were opening X amount of locations over the next year. But what they didn't know about Trader Joe's is that you have to like Trader Joe's picks their locations very, very deliberately. And when they said they were opening 100 locations, they meant we know exactly which
specific,
yeah. Yeah. And they need to meet all of these requirements for like disposable income in the area and job growth and all this kind of stuff. And so like just they got way over their skis, way ahead of themselves, and just I think to me had a huge embarrassing thing where everyone was like, oh, Trader Joe's is
on board. Yeah.
Yeah. Everyone was like, oh man, you heard we're getting a Trader Joe's. And then
that was the talk of the town for a while.
Oh my gosh. There was just zero chance we were ever getting a Trader Joe's. That was never even on the table. And everyone had
I remember because wasn't it also like right when Lucky's closed? So people were like, oh, that's perfect. Like Lucky's is leaving. Let's get Trader Joe's. What 2025, 4 years later, 4 or 5 years later, still not here. And
it was so funny because the when it happened, the location that everyone was saying was going to be a Trader Joe's or whatever was like not zoned for it either. So like it couldn't have been a Trader Joe's. It like never could have done. It never could have happened. Or that was my understanding. It like didn't have a lot of the requirements
that it needed
that it would have needed to be a Trader Joe's. So it just couldn't. It could never be a grocery store. It didn't have parking. It was a million reasons.
Well, that's perfect for Trader Joe's. They never have parking.
Oh, really?
that fits the criteria.
That's a funny. Like they're so. I've never. I don't think I've. Maybe I've been to one like in Orlando. There's probably one in Orlando, right?
Yeah, there's two in Orlando. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm sure I've been to one there. But otherwise, I don't.
Every single one is the same. You want to smash your face in while trying to find a parking spot. If you go when it's busy, you also want to smash your face the whole time you're inside the store. But if you go when it's not busy, it's pretty enjoyable.
That makes sense. Yeah. Well, so the reason I was asking about the news thing is I saw something in the news that really made me like, the Drake thing and the Kendrick Lamar thing. One of the places where people got a lot of news from that. This dog's driving me nuts. One of the places people were getting the news from it was from academics. Are you familiar with who that is?
Mm-mm. Not off the top of my head.
I'm going to pull up his Instagram account. So he is like, he's like, I want to say he's like friends with Drake or something. He's like, or friendly with Drake to some degree, but this is where he like does most of the posting. And he and most of the like if you want to get rap news, this is the guy that you got to follow. Here, let me see if I can burp. All right.
I think Titus is just offended that you didn't introduce him to our viewers.
I think that's probably it. Yeah. I think you might actually be right on that.
He just wants to be included.
Dude, it's crazy. Like he's a very cute pup, but also it's kind of like, what the hell? Shut up. No, he just really likes here we go. All right, so this is academics. And he posts a lot about Diddy. He posts a lot about 50 and like this thing with going on with Joe. I don't know if you're familiar with this thing with going on with Joe Budden and 50 Cent. But this guy, so I think he's like one of the number one sources for news. See like this kind of stuff. Like if you're looking for like celebrity news, this is the guy to get it. And there's a lot of accounts like that, I think.
Yeah.
that exist right now that are
They
giving
just
like
take the files and they put it somewhere.
exactly like have you heard of Joke World? I think that's the name of it, Joke World on YouTube.
No, but that's like a very common like way to grow your platform right now. Basically just like being on top of other people's drama, like being the one to like summarize it for everyone else so that you don't have to go to 6 different accounts to find the full story. You just go to one place and they pool the information for you and just summarize it for you.
Yeah, this is one where like they do like who was on what podcast and what were like the funny things that happened. That's what this Joke World is like basically everything that's going on in the world of podcasting. And then there's another one that's like I think it's Comedy Enforcement. And this one just goes over the drama that's happened.
The one that helped him
in comedy, like if there's this guy's doing this, and I've been sucked into a couple of these sometimes where I like watch the video.
You just want to know the tea.
I do.
It's nice when it's other people's life, you know, like it's not your life, so you just want to divulge in it.
Exactly. That's my form of 90 Day Fiance. I consume the tea of comedians and like who's doing what. Although there is something kind of icky about it because they do really clearly like look for drama in the podcast. And they're like connecting dots here. Sometimes like, I don't know, man. I think maybe they're just having fun with each other.
Yeah, just trying to stir the pot a little bit extra.
Exactly. I think there's a lot of people that get their news from sources like that though. That's like their main place of getting news is from like that kind of creator that's not like that Comedy Enforcement guy. He speculates wildly. I mean, he makes all kinds of assumptions, you know, you know, so if you took him at his word, you know, these comedians, there's this like internal drama going on with all the comedians and, you know, and all this stuff. And, you know, you just know that none of that, or at least not all of that is true. It's certainly not verified. And he makes like these, you know, like I said, wild sort of accusations. And I think that's the danger of getting your news from a source like that. Is like, you can't really.
Well, I think that's too the part of, or at least like in terms of like the people who are growing their platform simply to be like in on the drama is that like a lot of it is curated simply like when their views start dropping, they're gonna spike up the drama. Obviously, that's how you get more people searching your name, you know. So like a lot of stuff, it's just like you can tell it's curated. So I mean, people still feed into it, people still watch, but that's how you get your viral moments. That's why everyone keeps talking about the same story, you know.
Yeah.
But there actually did think of something that I saw, but I don't know if you saw it or I don't know your opinion on it, I guess.
I'm excited to hear what it is.
Can I share it? I'm going to present it to you.
Yeah. Here, I'm going to shut. I just realized the door's open. Shut it. That's probably making it worse. Because he can hear us louder. So.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Because it's kind of, well, I actually didn't read this full article yet. I kind of just saw, oops, the headline here. Did you see this?
No. Oh no.
But so this is like someone who I feel as if, so I don't know if this is related to the way I feel about it, but I don't think that this guy does the best with his like due diligence of making sure things are true before they get posted. And I feel as if a lot of his articles and stuff that he posts about are stuff that are just to get people to click and to freak out and to have a reaction on his page rather than actually posting local news. He like does it to like stir up the community, to start problems, to get people mad about things that haven't been proven to be true yet. Or at all, not even yet proven to be true at all. So this one, obviously, I didn't read the whole thing, but local news.
Yeah, I mean they're like, I mean it's like the more I think that they get incentivized, like if they're a writer there, I think they get incentivized by how many people click. And so it's not really how many people read though. So, you know, you're not really incentivized to get people to read it. You're incentivized to get people on the site. That's what benefits
Mm-hmm.
the most, is getting people on the site. And so that creates, I mean, that's what like sunk, I think like, I mean, I don't know this because obviously I wasn't like involved in the business, but my understanding of what sunk companies like BuzzFeed and Mashable that were like went from being extremely profitable is that they also kind of lost all of the trust of the
Like the
reader,
credibility. Yeah.
because like they became this kind of like headline focused, like all, you know,
Yeah,
reading.
like people realize that the minute you read it, you know that's not true.
Right, or that at a bare minimum it was like the headline was not always indicative of the quality of the article, or
Yeah.
you know they would like say something in the headline that I guess made sense, but it was kind of like
Very
whatever.
much a stretch.
Yeah, yeah, exactly, exactly, and that used to happen a lot for a really long time. I mean, I guess it still does, but I just don't follow
Mm-hmm.
it anymore. Or I see them. You know what? Where it gets me, where I think it happens now. Maybe I don't know if you get this. This is my age group, maybe, but it's like the last time I saw a lot about this was the Ryan Reynolds. This thing going on with Ryan Reynolds, and
Mm-hmm.
there'll be like a post where they say like uh I don't know, maybe it'll be like from I'm trying to think of like one of the publishers, but they'll say like, you know, scandalous text between, you know, reveal XYZ
Mm-hmm.
Ryan Reynolds and whatever his wife's name is and the other guy I can't remember. And but they won't say anything in the post, and they delete any comments that reveal it. And so you have to click into it
Mm-hmm.
to reveal what the texts are. And
And
then when
it's
you get in there, it's like every page, it's like overloading of ads. There's like a billion ads, and it's like you can't
mm-hmm.
really find which article, you know, is the one. And you're like just really looking for these fucking texts that you said.
Yeah, just these screenshots that you
You're like,
advertised to
yeah,
me.
where is the screenshot that you promised me in the image? And it's actually on page 8, and it's not even interesting. It's not like,
Yeah,
and I've been duped on that kind of thing. I'm embarrassed to say I've been duped on that kind of thing
me
so
too.
many times.
The worst
Where
is Daily Mail.
yeah, 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 like car crash blows up family or something, and you're
Yeah,
like,
and then the family like wasn't even in the
yeah,
car. Like,
horrific text, or you know, deep, whatever, you know what I'm saying. And you're like, you spend the whole time looking for where is this one that
that
you
you
meant.
claimed,
Or
and
they'll
it's
say,
not even there.
I've seen a similar one that is like that, where they have the they'll say like 25 images you can't unsee or something, and then you know you start clicking through the images, and then it's like, you know, like, but it's just every single page is a whole new set of loading,
Mm-hmm.
a whole new set of ads, and they're just gaming the system. And
Yeah,
it's and in this world today, again, like, I mean, when I come back to the kind of the news thing, it's like, um I don't know, I'm wondering where we're going to continue to get news moving forward. How are we going to continue to get news? I almost wonder if it's
I
worth
think the
making a local news channel. You know what I mean? Like a
I
news.
almost feel like the ones being the most successful are like the one like accounts that are catering still to like the TikTok. So like Fox and them who they'll get usage of the video rights, post it with like a heading, and then say like this is a breaking story, more news to come. And like they continue just to share that first person POV to their followers and like show like, hey, like we do have access to this information. We're showing you as much as we know in real time. I
Yeah, at
think
least they
that's
like
who's gonna
say this is the
survive.
beginning of the story. Like this isn't necessarily all we know is this, that type of
Yeah.
thing.
Like if there's a news anchor, I'm probably not gonna watch it.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah. There almost doesn't need to be a news anchor at all.
Because yeah, like just tell the story. Like a news anchor, I feel like is when it becomes opinionated, it becomes biased. I mean, you can still have a bias without a face, yeah, but it's
Well, I
easier
like
to form a bias when there's a whole person behind it, not just a voice.
right, and I think that like it's nice. I think for me, I appreciate a person who is honest about their bias. You
Yeah.
know, like I follow, like I said, I take in a couple different sides of the issue. Like for example, I enjoy Jon Stewart's take on everything. Jon Stewart and I don't always just agree on everything, but I do enjoy hearing his 2 cents on an issue helps me to like enlighten me to often the more liberal
Understand. Yeah, like understand that perspective.
exactly. And then I also really like another guy that I really like listening to is Dave Smith, who's a libertarian guy, and I like to hear. I don't always, sometimes he's like a little bit too kind of
Mm-hmm.
libertarian for me sometimes, and but a lot of times I like to just hear what he has to say about it because he's very knowledgeable and he's very honest about his bias. He's like, yeah, I'm a libertarian and this is my libertarian perspective, and here's what's important to me. And when there's overlap there, it's kind of nice to hear his side of things. And when there's not overlap, it's like I at least know why there's not overlap or where I disagree. And I like to do a few different people like that. So I don't mind it. I don't mind an anchor that is genuine about their bias. But I think that you're right. It's nice to have, like I described ground news, but there's a couple different, I'm sure, ones that are similar to that where they just have kind of like there is no person delivering the information.
Mm-hmm.
It's just an information delivery system, and they try to be as unbiased as possible. And I think it's cool to get like your kind of source news from that kind of place, like
Mm-hmm.
original news from that. But I think at the end of the day, when you're swiping, and you're in a TikTok hole, you really have to spend some time thinking about, is this real, and or is this even worth it? Like how many headlines do I have to read before I even believe it? At this point, I
Mm-hmm.
if I see a couple, I'm just like, bleh, I don't know. That's probably not even real. And then you have to wait until it becomes like a
I,
viral story.
I think too what really helps like stories evolve on TikTok is like the search feature. So you have one person post a video about it, and then the comments usually will link it to something else, and then you can still search. So you might get one person's point of view, but then you click it and then you easily have access to a million different people's opinions or point of view of what actually happened. So you get all of that with one single search
Do you
versus
ever wonder, like, how do they create that like search? So like you're watching a video, and then it will say like something at the bottom that is searchable. Like it'll say
I
like,
don't know, because some of them are like sometimes it's like the most
I
out of
don't get it.
pocket searches.
Yeah, yeah. Sometimes I'm just like, I have no
Like
idea.
there's one influencer where like every single one of her posts is her boyfriend's name breakup. Every single post, but like obviously they're still together. So it's like I don't know why. I don't know.
Or like I'll see one and it'll say like part two of this video, and that's what the search is. And then so you do it because you're like,
And
oh,
then
part two of
nothing
this
really.
video.
I know that's
It's
why
not
I'm like
that
people
damn
don't.
hard.
Yeah,
You
I'm
just
like just
literally
go to their
search it, the
page.
search bar part two of this video. That's not
Yeah,
the same thing. And like I don't know, that part is kind
I've
of
never
bizarre.
actually thought about it because like you would think it would be like the most populated comment or something, but it usually never is.
Yeah.
I don't
Well,
know.
yeah, yeah. That's exactly like it doesn't appear to be generated, but based on the comments,
Mm-hmm.
and I don't know how it could be generated based on like I thought maybe it was like what is most searched from
About
this
that
video
creator,
next,
yeah.
and maybe like for some of them it just happens to be like that a couple people searched about air fryers, and then that's why like you're watching
Mm-hmm.
the video and it's like I've seen ones that are
I
like
think it does have to do with what people go and search after
it must.
because like when people like talk about someone in the video, it almost always links to that person because I guarantee you people hear them being talked about immediately go and search that.
Yeah. Yeah, that makes sense. That makes sense. But of course, they close everything, so nobody gets to know what they're doing or not doing, as per usual.
Yep.
Well, now that it's been about 30 minutes and Titus has finally shut up barking, I think it's a good time for us to get started to end the live stream. He's finally quiet now.
He's
But
barked out, tire
yeah, he's
himself
all
out.
barking. Yeah, he's probably
It's his
asleep.
nap time now, yeah.
This dog, I tell you what. All right. Well, cool. Thanks for tuning in the morning meeting, and we'll see you next week.
See you next time.